to the creator, not bowing to the created. Now I can stand bolder, my heart and mind are sober. Looking to see a sign, my staff turned to a cobra. With magic they did the same, refused to fear his name. Hearts remain hard till their firstborns were slain. The knowledge you have is vain. Chakras and kundalinis, Kabbalah, tree of life, witchcraft and genies, mystery school teaching. Of course it gotta be right, you know it all. Somehow to gain eternal life. Were you there when he made the earth? When he formed man's bones, only used the dirt. Were you there when he made the planets? Please tell me how he did it if you understand it. Were you there when he made the heavens? And all their array rested on the seventh. All you have is speculation and theories. Gave us basic commands, we comprehend them clearly. What's the purpose of living? What's the purpose of dying? Who do you believe when everybody is lying? How do you wait fire? Count the sands of the seas. Tell me how many stars throughout the galaxy. Some things only God knows. If questions linger in your mind till your eyes close. But here's something you can understand. Fear Yah and his commands, the duty of man. While you still have a chance, fear Yah and his commands, the duty of man. While you still have a chance, fear Yah and his commands, the duty of man.
Yeah.
Really?
You have to, yeah.
Really, in my opinion, what I've always saw is that the Messiah came and gave us the perfect example of that.
Absolutely.
Of how we need to walk, how we need to be, how we need to get ourselves in order to carry the Spirit like he did.
Right.
And so he came as a blueprint.
Right.
For to show us how to, because that's how people, we need an example.
Right.
Without this example, we had the scribes and Pharisees running rampant amongst our people, leading us astray, telling us how to
teachers in the mores.
Right, teachers in the mores, teaching us how to be a part of their body. Right. And so, of course, the mores had a problem with him because he came to show us the perfect one. Right. So, I mean, that's how I see it. God came to save.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He came to show us how to conquer the flesh. Literally, how to conquer the flesh. What did he say? The things that I do and greater than these shall you do. So let's look at John chapter 1 verse 10. Starting at verse 10. And like I said, I'm gonna jump kind of back and forth because I want to show you how what's being said here in the Brit Hadashah parallels the Tanakh. Okay, so John chapter 1 verse 10 says, and he, who's the he? He is the Word, he is Yah's Spirit, he is his Ruach HaKodesh, was in the world, and the world came to be through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. We just read that in Ezekiel 37 and 8. It said we're forming together, we look like the nation, but we don't have the Word, we don't have the Spirit yet. The seal, if you understand the seal, okay? To them, and his own did not receive him. Verse 12. But as many as received him, the Word, the Ruach HaKodesh, the seal, Yahusha, these are all synonymous. As many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim, to those believing in his name, to those believing in Yahusha, to those believing that Yahuwah is deliverance. Got it? Numbers chapter 35. Numbers chapter 35. Keep in mind what we just read. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. and the fact that Yah wants to dwell with us. He sent his spirit to dwell with us. Even when we were in the wilderness, we came out of Egypt. In the wilderness, he kept telling us, I want to dwell with you. Be set apart, for I'm set apart, so that I may dwell with you. That's right. That's right. Numbers chapter 35, verse 34 says, and do not defile the land which you inhabit, in the midst of which I dwell. For I, Yahuwah, am dwelling in the midst of the children of Israel. I, Yahuwah, am dwelling in the midst of the child of Israel, but only if you're undefiled. That's the precedent. 2 Chronicles, chapter 29. We'll give you a few references. 2 Chronicles, chapter 29, verses 5 and 6. And it reads, and he said unto them, listen to me, O Levites, or Levites. Now set yourselves apart, set apart the house of Yah, Elohim of your fathers, and remove uncleanness from the set apart place. For our fathers have trespassed and have done evil in the eyes of Yahuwah our Elohim, and have forsaken him, and have turned their faces away from the dwelling place of Yahuwah, and have given their backs. So how do we turn our backs? We turned our backs by not keeping his dwelling place undefiled. Try to understand that even when he gave Moses the pattern for the temple, he was giving Moses a pattern of something that was in the heavens. Okay? A dwelling place. The dwelling place for us, the dwelling place of Yah, is his house. But we understand that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically what you need to understand is Yah wants Israel to be his house. Now I'm going to go to the other scripture in a minute. But that's what you need to understand. Yah wants us to be his house. Acts chapter 7, 48. Acts chapter 7, verse 48. Here we go. However, the Most High does not dwell in dwellings made with hands, as the prophet says. So we're talking about, we just read in 2 Chronicles that Yah said that we trespassed him by not keeping the temple undefiled, right? But then we read here that Yah don't dwell in dwelling places made with hands. So what was he talking about? He's talking about the body and our bodies. That's right. But, you know, some people won't accept that because it came from the book of Acts. So let's go to Isaiah 66. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 1. He even told you, he said, as the prophet says. You got to ask yourself, well, what prophet was he quoting? He was quoting Isaiah. It says, thus says Yahuwah, the heavens are my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you build for me? How can you build me a house? You can't build me a house. The heaven is my throne. Earth is my footstool. You cannot build me a house for me to dwell in. And where is this place of my rest? You need me to pause? Okay.
I don't know. You can cut it.
Okay.
So, Daniel prophesies. You see how Acts 7:48, Paul said something that was said in Isaiah, but he clarified, he made it so that we can understand it. Daniel is a prophecy, and Daniel prophesied about the taught ones.
Yeah.
He said that they will come along who will help those understand the word better, but that they will be persecuted by the sword.
Yeah.
And by,
and they were.
Right. And so all these people that's rejecting the taught ones, is Daniel prophesied about them.
Yeah.
I can give you that scripture if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, that could be found.
Daniel, you said 11?
Yeah, I think that was Daniel 11, verse. I guess you can start at 33 and go through 35.
Okay. And there's a parallel there. So the parallel is the tall ones that walk with Mashiach, who came under persecution of the Romans, and the tall ones in the last days before the persecution during the tribulation, or during the persecution of the tribulation. And that's the thing about a lot of these prophecies is the duality. How to cover one time period, and in the very same scripture, cover another time period as well. Just like Israel and Yahusha. You know?
So Paul definitely does. Because like that scripture in Isaiah 66:1, I see what he's saying, but when Paul broke it down, he made it simple.
Right.
Okay, right. That makes sense.
Okay.
You know?
And now then that's what Paul was charged to do.
Yeah.
That's what Paul was charged to do. All right. So Yahusha and righteous Israel. Keyword righteous. Similitudes as dwelling places for the word or the Ruach. Yahusha and righteous Israel are similitudes of dwelling places for the word or the Ruach. Let's look at John chapter 1 verse 33. We're still just dealing with whether or not Yah is okay with something being in his image. That's all we're dealing with right now. Chapter 1 verse 33. As Maisha said, the process of us becoming in his image is for us to have that spirit, his spirit. And that was the same even for Yahusha. It wasn't different for him. It was the same.
I think that most people, when they dispute Messiah, is because they look at Yahusha the man, and they take away from the fact that he had to walk he had to do a fleshly walk.
Right.
He had to be tempted.
Right.
He had to go through. He had to prove himself.
Right.
Prove that he was worthy to obtain that spirit, because he came to show us something. Sure, he could have came down and aced it right in the beginning, but he came to show us that he could be tested, that he could be proved, and once he proved himself, he went down in the water, and then when the Ruach landed on him, Yah said, "This is my son." When he proved that his body, his vessel, was able to hold the promise, was able to hold the Ruach, was able to hold the peace of Yah that he offers to us, that he's offered, that he promised to us.
Right. Absolutely.
So he came to show us the walk. So Yahusha, the man, definitely proved himself as a man, proved that he could, he could walk the walk.
Yeah. So we're dealing with the fact that flesh is carnal. Flesh is carnal. So the coming of Yahusha in the flesh, as you just said, was a process of showing how to conquer carnal flesh by way of the Spirit. So first making a conscious decision that you are going to be obedient to what was laid out in the Tanakh and in the Torah, and then once you're obedient to that, growing the Spirit within you and holding on to it to continue to promote walking according to the Spirit as opposed to walking according to your own fleshly desires. If you can't get that, you're going to continue to go in the path of carnal ways because you're not recruiting help from the Spirit in order to conquer that flesh. And if you don't recruit that help from the Spirit, you're going to fail. That's the bottom line. You're going to fail. We see the temptation of Yahusha. We read that in several different places, and we read what he had to do in order to conquer that. And like you said, he gave us the blueprint of exactly what had to be done in order to accomplish that. And we're going to read that. We're going to read that here. So, John chapter 1 verse 33 says, "And I did not know him, but he who sent me to immerse," this is Yachanan, "but he who sent me to immerse in water said to me, upon whom you see the set apart Spirit," or the Spirit coming down and remaining on him, "this is he who immerses in the set apart Spirit." So as you go on and immerse, when you see the Ruach come down and remain on this individual, this is the one that I've been telling you about. This is the one that's going to not immerse for the remission of sins, but immerse in the Ruach HaKodesh. He's going to show you how to, what you just say, how to acquire the Spirit and hold on to the Spirit. That's it.
Paradise.
Okay. Matthew chapter 3. Matthew chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. I did a 2-part series on Yahusha in the so-called Old Testament, and I pretty much stayed in the so-called Old Testament because that was in prayer that somebody would come out of that madness. Like I said, this is not really for them. This is for you who believe. So I'm gonna deal with some of these New Testament, so-called New Testament scriptures. So it is what it is, because you got to see how they parallel.
And then you got to see too, most of the people who don't, who can't see Messiah, who cannot see him in the scriptures, who can't see like the parables, the parables. You have a lot of people who read those parables and nothing happens for them. For those kind of people, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like you see them initially believing in Messiah because everybody told them to.
Right.
But then you see it died for them because the flame never caught.
Right.
It never lit. And so the Messiah, there's no Messiah for them. They don't have that. They don't see that.
Yeah.
And you got to be okay with it.
You believing in what someone said. I had a Nicole post something that I caught on my time reel, where she was saying she was having some questions about Messiah that was causing her to lean in the way of believing that, if anything, he was just another prophet. And really, the way she dropped the question was like in an agent kind of fashion to begin with. But I posted on there some encouragement, but the debate that it caused, which didn't have nothing to me, I don't get in that kind of debate online no more. But the debate that it caused was what she was looking for. It was an opportunity for all of those who operate in that non-Messianic or anti-Mashiach spirit to come out of the woodworks and do what they do, which is a bunch of vulgarity, it's cussing, it's slander.
So it's like it's test the spirit, people.
Test the spirit, yeah.
Test the spirit.
I mean, it wasn't even scriptures being, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you ain't even posting scriptures, you just.
They got to talk about each other's mamas.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Where did this go?
Are you raising your hand? Okay. All right. Matthew chapter 3, 16 and 17. It says, "And having been immersed, Yahusha went up immediately from the water, and see, the heavens were opened, and he saw the Spirit of Elohim descending like a dove and coming upon him. And see, a voice out of the heavens saying, 'This is my Son, the beloved, in whom I delight.'" This is my Son. So now we're looking at the example of what John even said, which is, "But to those who receive him, to them I give the authority to become children of Yah." So that did not even exclude Yahusha himself. He had to receive the Spirit, and then he said, "This is my Son." Okay? Yahusha in the flesh. All right. John chapter 8, verse 29. John chapter 8, verse 29. Sit at the table, please. And it reads, "And he who sent me is with me." This is Mashiach speaking. This is Yahusha. "The Father has not left me alone." Why? "Because I always do what pleases him." What is he saying? I keep the commandments. I keep the commandments.
Yahusha had to walk it out too.
Yahusha had to keep the commandments as well. But the blueprint is, don't defile yourself. My commandments are in order to keep you a viable vessel for my spirit. Yahusha said, "My Father don't leave me." Right. Because I'm doing exactly what Torah said.
He said exactly what's happening.
He said exactly what's happening.
Don't leave me. The Spirit of Yah don't
Don't
leave
me. Because I keep the commandments.
Boom.
Which means I've made my body a clean and viable vessel for his spirit.
It ain't a mystery.
No.
It's simple.
It's only a mystery to them because they're carnal minded.
Right.
So I pray that you, if you're listening to this, I pray you get that. Let's look at John chapter 14. We're gonna drill it home. John chapter 14, verse 20 and verse 23. And it reads, "In that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. Skip to 23. Yahusha answered him, if anyone loves me, you shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. We shall come to him who guards my word, who guards the commandments, and make our stay. So this spirit that is the word, the spirit that is the Ruach HaKodesh, will make his stay with you, just like he's making his stay with me.
Right.
This is the blueprint. This is the
exactly.
Exactly. Again, I don't get that people see that the Messiah is saying anything different than what Torah says. He's simply helping you understand Torah. Again, John chapter 17, verse 11. This is the prayer in the valley of Gethsemane after the Last Supper. He goes in the valley to make his last prayer before he knows he's going to be crucified, taken. And he says, I am no more in the world, but these are in the world. And I come to you, set apart Father. Who is he praying to? He's praying to the Father. He told us to pray to the Father. Our Father, who dwells in heaven, set apart be thy name.
A lot of non-Messianics, they stick to what Christian church teach.
Ignore the Christians.
They stick to Jesus, you know.
Ignore the Christians. But I ask you this, don't lump me in with Christians.
Right.
Because I believe in Mashiach Yahusha. Stop calling Yahusha JC.
Right.
They are not the same.
They don't even have the same attributes.
They don't even have the same name.
Right. Right. They don't have the same goals, aspirations.
They don't have any of the same
teaching.
That's right.
Anything.
That's right. You can't lump that on us. All right. Set apart, Father, guard them in your name, which you have given me, so that they might be one. So that they might be echad in the Hebrew. Absolutely. Let's jump down to verse 21. Jump down to verse 21. Same chapter, chapter 17, book of John. It says, so that they might be one as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, so that they too might be one in us, so that the world might believe that you have sent me. Verse 22. That's the sheep. Okay. And the esteem with which you gave me, I have given them, so that they may be one as we are one. So they can be one the same way, that not one and the same. Not one and the same. I'm not you who listening to this, but we are one as a nation, and we are a viable in righteousness. We can be a viable dwelling place for his spirit, in order for his spirit to use us as a vessel to do his will. That's the body.
Let's create man in our image.
Let us create man in our image and in our likeness, to have dominion,
right,
to rule.
And then he narrowed it down again and said, Israel, you're going to be my priest.
That's right. Okay. Hallelujah. Verse 23, John chapter 17. I in them, and you in me, so that they may be, get this, perfected into one. Perfected into one. What perfects you? His Ruach perfects you, cleanses you, grows you, teaches you, comforts you, perfects you into one righteous nation, a viable vessel, so that they might be perfected into one, so that the world knows that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. Again, I started that reading those verses by showing you the similitude of the nation of Israel and Yahusha as vessels for Yah's spirit. The nation of Israel and Yahusha, similitudes of vessels for Yah's spirit. If you think about Corinthians, where it talks about the body of Messiah, that's all it's saying. Many members, one body. for we are many members in one body. Now, you just looked at John 17:23. It says, so they may be perfected in one. Check this out. Walk up to any Jew and tell them you're Israelite. They're going to say, do you know the Shema?
Yep.
Yeah, I know the Shema. Do you know the Shema?
Right.
They use the Shema to say that there is no Yahusha Messiah. They use the Shema to say that Yahusha is not the son of Yah. Well, I'll show you how. Let's read it. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Have a seat at that table, please. Thank you. Let me know you're there. Give me a 7 when you're there.
7.
Okay, good. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Shema says, hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our Elohim. Elohim is one. I'm sorry. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our Elohim. Yahuwah is one. Okay? Shema, O Israel, Yahuwah Elohim, Yahuwah Echad in the Hebrew. Echad. That word one in Hebrew is Echad. So what the Jews and what I'm guessing you non-Messianics say is that when that says Yahuwah is one, you say, see? Yahuwah is one. He's one. There's nobody with him, next to him on the throne. Nobody else with him on the throne has no authority. It's just Yahuwah. You don't even have understanding of the Shema. And the crazy part is, before we come into the truth, we actually thought that the Jews had understanding of at least Torah.
Yeah.
And here come to find out, you non-Messianics don't even understand Torah. So let's look at it. What is the word Echad? The word Echad in the Hebrew, in the Strong's Concordance, is H259. H259. Comes from the word, comes from H258, and it means properly united. Properly united. Okay? I'll take you back to John 17:23, where it says, I am them, you and me, so that they may be properly united into one. Perfected into one. That is one. I'm going back to the definition in Strong's Concordance. That is one. First, alike. The word ahad means alike. It can also mean all together. What you say? The word one can mean all together. Many members, one body. You telling me that Shaul was writing something different than what Torah said? He was not. Shaul understood the Shema. You don't. Okay? 1 plus 11. It's 12 tribes, right? Again, John chapter 17, verse 18. As you sent me into the world, I also send them into the world. Y'all got to understand. Y'all have to understand. Yahuwah gave his son his authority. His son is giving his wife his authority. His son is giving his body his authority. The authority comes by way of the Spirit. You understand what I'm saying? Yahushua said, I'm going to show you what happened. Y'all sent me into the world. Okay? Because you wasn't able to see that I sent you into the world. To be what? A nation of priests. To get the world straightened out. So since you didn't understand that, some of them did. The prophets understood. Dawid understood. Shaul understood in the end. The tall ones understood in the end. 1%. Let's say 1%. We ain't gonna say 5% because then people will say, oh, see? But let's say 1%. A remnant understood. A remnant understood that Yah was showing us from the beginning a pattern from the heavens, from the highest heaven, down into the physical atmosphere of what he wanted done, which is there's a chain of command. I'll pass my authority through my and my attributes through my spirit, and I expect everything to operate in the way that I'm saying it's supposed to operate. I'm the Heavenly Father. I expect my son to do what I said, and I expect his household to do as he said, which is ultimately going to be as I said. That's all it's saying.
So basically, the same thing he established in the beginning.
Yeah.
With Adam and Eve.
Same thing he established in the beginning. We were just talking about this morning. I said, look, you know what came to me? I was driving down the road and I said, Yah showed us with Adam and Eve. He said, if you read in Genesis, and the spirit of Yah was on the face of the deep. Okay? And Elohim said, let us create man in our image. Then he turned around and said, it is not good that man should be alone. So that means that for whatever reason, I'm not going to get into the mind of Yah. Yah said, because I'm creating you in my image, don't want to be alone. So you got all these people who call themselves atheists, don't believe in the Bible, say, why would, if God is who he said, why did he even create us? I don't know, but he said he didn't want to be alone. So he created a body for himself. He had that prerogative. It was no cosmic gag reel. It was that he said, let me show you what I'm doing. I'm going to show you by creating man, and I'm going to show you the relationship that I want to have with you. I expect husband and wife to have. Man shall not be alone. He shall have a helpmeet. Here we could get into the importance of a wife. You understand what I'm saying? A wife is symbolic of the body. The husband is symbolic of the head of that body. But Yahusha told you that it's the body who's doing the will of the head. Many members in one body. You understand what I'm saying? So for somebody to make light of the duty of the wife, is like you don't even understand. Because really the whole book, outside of being about Mashiach, which it is about his body. Or his wife. That's how important the wife is. The body. Absolutely. So that's it. And he told you in John 17:18, the same way the Father sent the Son into the world, once I finish preparing you, I'm then sending you into the world, a nation of priests to the world. But you will be my body. You will be my mouth, eyes, ears, hands, and feet. To do the will of not me, but the Father. Yahusha. Yeah. And if you're doing the will of Yahusha, you are doing the will of the Father, because they said, I came to do not the will of myself, but the will of he who sent me. We just read it. Okay. So anyway, if you can understand that, if you can understand how Yahusha and the nation of Israel parallel, then you'll do it. If you could understand Isaiah, that whole chapter 42, that's very key. And we're not going to read all of that right now, but read that on your own. Isaiah chapter 42, comment on it. Comment on it in the comment section. Read Isaiah 42, see how it identifies Yahusha and Israel. Instead of arguing amongst each other, saying that this is Israel. No, it's Yahusha. No, it's Israel. No, it's Yahusha. Messianic saying is Yahusha. Non-Messianic saying is Israel. It's both. It's both. Look at each verse. Some is specifically talking about Yahusha. Some is talking about the body. Okay? All right. Question. Do we see in the so-called Old Testament the existence of anyone other than Yah at the creation being created before anything else? It's one of the things they continue. So let's see. Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. Now here's the thing. Like I said, this is not necessarily for non-Messianics. This is for you who believe in Mashiach. Now there's a lot of people who say they believe in Mashiach who don't believe that Mashiach was in the so-called Old Testament. So this is for you too. Okay? Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. Ready?
Yep.
And it reads, And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of Yah moved on the face of the waters. I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to go on to the next thing that I want to read. Book of Psalms, chapter 104. The Spirit of Yah. Is the Spirit of Yah Yah? Yes, it is. But is it His Spirit? It is. Did He send His Spirit into the earth? Yes, He did. But there's something else about that you got to understand. Chapter 104, the book of Psalms, chapter 104, we're going to read verse 24 through 31. Give me 7 when you're there.
7.
And it reads, O Yahuwah, how many have been your works? You have made all of them in wisdom. The earth is filled with your possessions. There is the sea, great and wide, in which are innumerable swarms, living creatures, small and great. There do ships go. That Leviathan, which you made to play there, all of them wait for you to give their food in due season. You give to them. I apologize. Read that again. You give to them, they gather in. You open your hand, they are satisfied with good. You hide your face, they are alarmed. You take away their breath, they die and return to their dust. You send forth your spirit. They are created, and you renew the face of the earth. The esteem of Yahuwah is forever. Yahuwah rejoices in His works. Let me go back to Genesis 1 and 2 again. And the earth was without form and void. You can read the translation that says, and the earth became formless and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of Yah moved on the face of the waters. Okay? All right, keep that in mind. Let's go back and reread Psalms 104, verse 30 and 31. You send forth your Spirit, they are created. What's created? The Word. Everything we just read. Everything we just read. We just read that He created everything that's in your hands, great swarms, the sea, everything in the sea. He said, you send forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the earth. So the earth became formless. Y'all said, this is the prophet Dawid. He said, you send forth your spirit and renew the face of the earth. Then he says after that, the esteem of Yah. What's the esteem of Yah? The esteem of Yah is the Spirit of Yah. Okay.
Now, how deep are you gonna go with this? Because
I can't go as deep as what would make this take 2 hours because nobody will listen. But what I'm giving you, you go further and continue to research.
Because I can see what's not here in that.
Well, that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and how the world came to be Nimrod.
Yeah.
The days of kings. You know.
So there's the parallel. You got a 7-day creation, and then you got a 7,000 year creation.
Came to be full as void. You sent your spirit. Messiah came and breathed like His words started forth a movement.
Yeah.
You know, His top ones, the people, they started forth a movement, and without them, us that have the word wouldn't even happen.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So he says, the esteem of Yah is forever, and Yah rejoices in His works. The esteem of Yah is forever, and Yah rejoices in His works. Whose works? The esteem of Yah. The Word. The Spirit. Yahusha.
It has a name.
It has a name. So also, knowing that the Word is the Spirit, let's go to Isaiah 55. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 55. Torah. Starting at verse 7. I'm going to read through. Thank you. I'm going to read through 12. We're about halfway through. Just about. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 7 reads, "Let the wrong forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to Yahuwah, who has compassion on him, and to our Elohim, for he pardons much. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares Yahuwah. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain comes down and the snow from the heavens, and do not return there, but water the earth, and make it bring forth, and bud, and give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater, so is my word that goes forth from my mouth. So is my word that goes forth from my mouth. It does not return to me empty, but shall do what I please, and shall certainly accomplish what I sent it for." Yeah, he blew his breath. He blew his ruach. Yeah. "For with joy you go out." The word. "For with joy you go out, and with peace you are brought in. And the mountains and the hills break forth into singing before you. And all the trees of the field clap the hands." Go back to John. Yeah. John helped explain it all. John understood it.
He said simply, the word became
Flesh. The word pitched his tent and became flesh. Look, here's what you got to understand about the Spirit of Yah. Yah is able to send his spirit autonomously from himself. How? I don't know. It's Yah. I don't care to try to explain. Yeah, I don't know the recipe, but he can do it.
That's what the Gentiles trying to figure it out.
Yeah, they're trying to figure it out. But let's look at scriptural verification that Yah can do that. Look at Isaiah chapter 40, verse 13. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 13. Question we're dealing with is, do we see the evidence of anybody at the creation in addition to Yahuwah himself? Well, we see the Spirit, so we help you understand that the Spirit is autonomous when Yah wanted to be from himself. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 13 says, "Who has meted, M-E-T-E-D, out the Spirit of Yahuwah, or as his counselor taught him?" Let's look at that word meted. In other words, what that scripture is saying, who else could mete out the Spirit of Yah? Or who could teach Yah? Nobody but Yah could teach Yah, and nobody but Yah can mete out his Spirit. So what does that word mete mean? Primitive root, H8505, Talkan, H8505. It's a primitive root to balance, that is, to measure out by weight or dimension, figuratively to arrange, to equalize. It can also mean to direct. So Yah can direct his spirit into whoever he wants to, can equalize his spirit, can arrange his spirit, can give his esteem to an individual. We read that in Isaiah. I will give my, and no one else, and I will not give my esteem to another. Some people believe that's saying Yah won't give his esteem to anybody but himself. That's not what it's saying. Read that passage in its entirety. He's saying, I give my esteem to the body. I give my esteem to my son and his union, his marriage union, and I won't give it to anybody else. I give my son, okay, it's just like if my son get married and I give a gift to him and his household.
Your heir.
My heir. Hallelujah. That's exactly what it's saying. This is what I pass on to my heir. I give my authority to rule, to send in my authority to rule.
Which is why he called him the second Adam. He gave
Yes.
the first Adam, the world was the first Adam.
That's right.
That's why he called him the second Adam.
That's right. Cain.